Imagine if everything you've been told about positivity, success, and self-improvement was only making your life more stressful. That's the jarring but refreshingly honest premise of The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. It's not just a book with a bold title. It's a brutally direct wake-up call for anyone who's tired of chasing perfection and constantly feeling like they're falling short. From the very first page, Manson throws out the conventional self-help playbook and invites you to stop trying to be great and instead focus on what matters. Not caring about everything isn't apathy, it's clarity. The question isn't whether you'll struggle in life. The real question is, what are you willing to struggle for? Manson's first big idea is that life is inherently full of problems, and no matter how successful or wealthy you are, you'll never be free from pain, failure, or discomfort. But instead of running from that truth, Manson urges us to embrace it. He argues that happiness comes from solving meaningful problems, not avoiding them. For example, imagine two people in a relationship. One expects everything to be easy and perfect. The other expects conflict and sees it as part of growing closer. Guess which one ends up feeling more fulfilled? According to Manson, the second person understands that pain and struggle aren't signs of failure. They're signs of being alive and engaged. When we stop demanding that life always feel good, we can finally enjoy it for what it is: unpredictable, messy, and real. Another core message of the book is about the importance of values. Manson makes it clear that we all give a F*** about something. We just don't always realize what that is. And when we care about shallow things like looking cool or being liked by everyone, we end up miserable. That's because these values are based on external validation, and they shift constantly. If you base your worth on being admired or successful, then every time someone criticizes you or outshines you, your world starts to crumble. Manson encourages us to choose values that are rooted in reality, like honesty, growth, and responsibility. These aren't always glamorous, but they're stable, and they lead to a much more satisfying life. He illustrates this point with the story of Dave Mustaine, who was kicked out of the band Metallica just before they hit it big. Mustaine went on to form Megadeth, which became hugely successful, but he still felt like a failure because he never reached Metallica's level. Meanwhile, Pete Best, the drummer kicked out of the Beatles, ended up happier because he focused on building the good life outside of fame. The difference wasn't in their circumstances, it was in their values. One chose to measure his life by comparison, the other chose fulfillment. This example hits hard because it shows how easily we can trap ourselves with the wrong metrics, even when we look successful on the outside. Manson also challenges the obsession with always feeling good. He argues that the pursuit of constant positivity is a major cause of anxiety. When we expect ourselves to always be confident, happy, and productive, we set ourselves up to feel like failures when we inevitably fall short. Instead of pretending that everything is fine, Manson encourages readers to accept their flaws and limitations. He calls this the backwards law. The more you pursue feeling better all the time, the less satisfied you become, because focusing on what you lack only emphasizes that you don't have it. Paradoxically, when you accept your insecurities and imperfections, you begin to feel more grounded and whole. There's a powerful section where Manson talks about taking responsibility for your life, not in a guilt-tripping way, but as an empowering shift. He makes a crucial distinction. You are not always to blame for what happens to you, but you are always responsible for how you respond. This means that even when life throws you something unfair or painful, you still get to choose how to interpret it and what to do next. For example, if someone betrays your trust, you didn't cause it, but you are responsible for how you move forward. That mindset takes you out of victimhood and puts you back in control, even if the situation feels chaotic. It's one of the most liberating messages in the book. Another standout concept is the idea that you're always choosing. Even when you don't realize it, every action you take or avoid is a choice based on what you value. Manson urges us to become more conscious of these choices, especially when it comes to the things we allow to affect us. If someone cuts you off in traffic and ruins your day, you've essentially given that person power over your emotions. The solution? Stop giving your energy to things that don't align with your values. This doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent. It means protecting your time, your attention, and your inner peace by focusing only on what truly matters. Manson's writing style is part of what makes these concepts stick. He doesn't sugarcoat anything. He swears, he makes jokes, and he writes like he's having an unfiltered conversation with you over coffee. But underneath the humor is a deep emotional honesty. He talks openly about his own failures, rejections, and painful realizations, which makes it easy to relate to the ideas. Instead of pretending he has everything figured out, he invites you into the mess with him, and that vulnerability makes the insights feel more trustworthy. He also challenges the idea of finding your passion as a goal. Instead, Manson suggests paying attention to what problems you enjoy solving. Passion is a side effect of commitment and mastery, not the other way around. People often wait for motivation to show up before taking action, but he flips this and says that action leads to motivation. If you want to write a book, start writing even when you don't feel inspired. If you want a meaningful relationship, show up consistently, even when it's uncomfortable. In other words, don't wait to feel good before you do good things. Just start doing the work, and the good feelings will follow. One of the most sobering sections in the book is about death, not in a morbid sense, but as a clarifying force. Manson argues that remembering our mortality helps us cut through the noise and get serious about what actually matters. When you realize that your time is limited, you stop wasting it on petty drama, social approval, or pointless worry. Instead, you begin to ask better questions. What do I want to leave behind? What kind of life do I want to live, knowing that it will end? This isn't meant to depress you. It's meant to wake you up. There's something oddly freeing about accepting that none of this lasts forever. By the end of the book, Manson isn't promising a perfect life. He's offering a way to be more honest, more present, and more at peace with yourself, even when life doesn't go according to plan. He doesn't want you to give 0 F***CKS. He wants you to give fewer, better ones. Life will still be hard. You'll still have problems. But you'll face them with clarity, purpose, and a deeper sense of what's worth caring about. The subtle art of not giving a FCK* is not just a rejection of the typical self-help fluff. It's a practical guide for navigating a complicated world with your sanity intact. It's for anyone who's tired of pretending, tired of the pressure to always be on, and ready to live a life that's messier but more meaningful. If you're ready to stop chasing the impossible and start embracing the real, raw beauty of being human, this book is worth every page.